Hello there! I am Carol, Crafty Grandma, and today we are doing part 3 of the October bench pillows for all seasons. We completed the pieced top in part 2, but we didn't have time to do the quilting and the making of the envelope so that it can go around the pillow. For the batting, I am using Warm and White. I'm not using it for any reason other than the fact that I didn't realize that I was out of Warm and Natural. So I'm not using the white for any reason other than that. The white is not necessary in this, especially, got hairs hanging off of it. The only white part is here. So Warm and Natural would be fine. I just don't have any Warm and Natural, and I have Warm and White, so that's what we're going to use. And then for the backing, I am going to use this black. Not for the backing of the quilt, sorry. To make my sandwich, I'm going to use muslin and the Warm and White and the top. This is going to be the back for my envelope. So this will be visually seen. I debated on using the striped fabric because I do have enough of it. But I think I like the idea of having the back a different color than the border. So I'm going to go with the back. That shouldn't be here. Got things all in the wrong spot. I'll get lost and confused. There we go. And so all we have to do now is make the sandwich and do some quilting. Let me make sure Warm and White doesn't have any different requirements than Warm and Natural. Because it's the same company, it's the same stuff, it's just this is dyed white. It does not, it's not left in the natural color, which is Warm and Natural. Let's see here. Warm and White is everything quilters love about Warm and Natural, using purified cotton fibers, blah, 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 blah. The bright white is perfect for crafting icy snowmen and frosty polar bears, to name a few. Certification by the manufacturer. It's not giving me the minimal number of inches between stitches. Oh, there it is. Quilt or tie up to 10 inches apart. So it's the same as the Warm and Natural. I figured it was, because like I said, the only difference is the color. But I just wanted to make sure before I got going on this. All right. So it's folded there. I don't really need it that long, but all right, how 14, 16, where are we at? We are at 16 3/4 inches. You want to add at least 2 inches, so 17, 18, 19. I want to do 19 inches. Huge table, no room. Drives me crazy. That's not what I want. I want to do it this way. 19 inches wide. What am I doing? All right. Stop. There's the fold. That's what I want. I have to be 19 inches wide. trying to keep this straight. Oh, that's not going to be good. That goes back over there. Talia, is there something I can assist you with? Talia? Okay, what you need? Sorry about that. She doesn't eat cables. The other cat likes to eat cables. Talia doesn't. But she's fascinated by the cord that sits over in that corner of the room. And I don't know why. All right. There we go. So, still 19 inches wide? No, down to 16 at that point. Doesn't that just figure? I'm not very talented. All right. And I need it to be... how long? 39, so 41 inches. There's 35. Thirty-six, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. Now, fingers crossed that in the middle it's wide enough. Let's see. Nope, of course not. All right. Okay, we are now much shorter distance to cut. 19 inches. Go. Now we're 19 inches wide. $35, $36, $37, $38, $39, $40, $41. Okay. There we go. Now we have enough to cover it. Yep. Excellent. Now we have enough batting to take care of it. The back of the quilt sandwich. And again, we're going to go with 19 inches. And then this is 42 inches, and I need 41, so we're good. All right. That is all taken care of. Put this down here. We put this on top. Excellent. And last, but most definitely not least, we take our quilt pieced top and put it on top of the other two layers. Wonderful. And we make sure we have fabric. Yep. And we have enough room over here. All right. Now, if you are so inclined, now is when you would baste everything together. With a quilt of this size, because I've done multiples of these now, I am not going to worry about it. Also, the quality of my work, in my opinion, is somewhat lacking, and I will probably be making this over again. Not this year, but probably next year. So I'm going to go ahead and quilt it as it is. It's not that bad. It's a nice quilt setting. Let's see. Are you warm at all? If you use a warm iron on it, and the batting, you don't need to use the ironing board because the batting is going to take care of that. That kind of makes them stick together kind of nicely. I do have the spray stuff, but I'm going to go with we have it right now. All right, let's see. Nope. Close. Delete. There we go. All right. So the first thing we have to do is get our sewing machine set up for quilting. So I'm going to get my walking foot out. I am going to get rid of my piecing thread. And pull out my black cotton thread. I'm going to use this for quilting. And I need a quilting needle. Instead of a, oh, where'd my scissors go? They're all the way over there. I'm going to throw away that needle. I will just use the quilting needle for the rest of this project. go. And then last but not least, the thread. Woo. Got a little carried away there. All right, now my walking foot happens to have interchangeable feet, and the foot that I have on has the stitch in the ditch foot on it, and I'm going to leave that on because I want to do some stitching in the ditch. All right. And I now see that there's something on the screen that shouldn't be there. Hold on. Thought I deleted that. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So I am going to stitch around the witches' hats. Let's see. The furthest distance for them is 12 inches. So I will need to do something in here. I had talked about that yesterday. I'm thinking, or not yesterday, on part 2. I'm thinking I might just do some reflective triangles. I'm not certain. But first I'm going to stitch around the hats. Oops, forgot something. Increase stitch length to 3.5. Needle stop and down position. There we go. That's hat number 1. This hat's going to be a little bit trickier because we have to avoid stitching over the eek portion. So let's start at the E going to leave that so I knew where I started, but it doesn't matter where I started because the letter is in the way. So I will be sewing or quilting up to it. Area here I'm going to try and do. Voila, hat number 2. All right, hat number 3, our bat hat. Okay, so now I need to do something in the open gray area. And I think what I will do, there's my doohickey, there's my doohickey. I am going the wrong way. I need to start over here and roll this all up. All right. So let's make this, first of all, we get this rolled up. That way it'll fit under here. And I am still a little chunky, but okay. Oh, that's part of the problem. Okay, and now I want to go not quite that far. I am going to start at the corner . and quilt at an angle to a point. Oops, keep going. There we go. And now I am going to turn it. And same distance. Start here. So we're not going to be able to go up the same distance here because it would cut off my eek. So let's see here. Actually, we should be fine because those are less than 10 inches apart. So let's skip that and go over to this side. And go down. And then over here to go up. Let's see, we start, oh, I guess I didn't need to cut the thread. I could have just kept going that way. Last but certainly not least, we're going to go down this side. Alrighty, got the hats out. That's not 10 inches, so that's fine. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch in the ditch around the border. Excellent. So now we have the back. And you can see there's no more than 10 inches anywhere, so we're good. Trim up our threads. Got most of them as I was going, but there we go. And now we take our ruler, and our border should be 1 1/4 inches because we cut it to an inch and a half. So we're going to trim the border to from the stitch line out because we've used 1/4 inch. And so we're measuring it to 1 1/4 inches and trimming off the extra batting and backing. And you always want to do this just because when you quilt, sometimes things get a little puckered here or there. So you want to make sure that you use, you put more batting and backing than you need and then trim it off after the fact. Oops. There we go. I'm going to do the other short side and then I'll do the 2 long sides because they can be annoying. I have learned that over the months of doing this. All right. 1 1/4 inches. Go. Okay, so now the long sides. And I've done it different ways. I've gone over here, I've gotten the long ruler, I've done it that way. In all honesty, I find it's just as easy to use the shorter ruler and do it multiple cuts as opposed to using the longer ruler and using less cuts. But of course, as you are probably well aware, I prefer to use the shorter ruler whenever I can anyway. Okay, so 1 1/4 inches. Now remember, when you're doing the long side now, you need to square up to the short side. Otherwise you will not get a rectangular quilt. Okay, long side 1 done. The last one. All right, 1 1/4 and square it to the bottom. Tried to line it up on 1.5 inches at the top and 1.25 inches at the bottom. Not going to work. Oh, all right. Now that I'm on this side, I can square it up on the top. Okay. Now, of course, if you're more talented than me, you are welcome to do free motion up in this area. Because again, well, not in this part, I haven't mentioned it, but in the previous parts, I mentioned the fact that the pattern in the book calls for this to be a gray print fabric. So it should have designs on it. And mine does not. I didn't have any gray that had designs on it. So I went with the solid gray. Sorry, just making sure that that was on. Yeah, okay. I don't know. Feeling worried about nothing. Something you might want to consider is outlining each of the pumpkins and the jack-o'-lanterns, because as it turns out, the ones with the faces on them are called jack-o'-lanterns, and these are just called pumpkins. So you could do something like that. There's a lot of stuff you can add to this if you're so inclined. It just depends on your skill level and where you want to go with it. I'm still not very good at free motion quilting, so I'm not playing with that. But maybe someday. Okay, so we've done all of that for finishing the pillow front. Quilt curved lines in the plain pumpkin squares. Oh, okay, so apparently that's... Actually, in one of them, they wrote the word spooky. So my machine has letters on it. I could have written something using it. They used a metallic, looks like silver or gold. I'm not certain which one it was. But they wrote the word spooky in there, which is kind of cute. But anyway, follow the directions for finishing the pillow back in the general instructions. So back to the front of the book we go. And finishing the pillow back. All of the pillows in this book are finished with an envelope back, which is a quick finish and makes it easy to change the pillow cover. Use two 11.5 by 38.5 inch rectangles. Okay. 11.5 plus 11.5 is 23 inches, which should be half of this. Or, I don't remember how I normally do this. I think I must do it for the 11.5. 38, so if I do two 11.5s, that's 22, 23. Yeah, that's what I did. I just had to talk myself back through it. Okay, so I need to tear at 23 inches. And since it's already torn on the other side, 23 should be good. Or actually, I should do 24. I'll do it at 24. So using my ruler on my cutting pad, I'm going to Slice that at 24 inches and then tear it. There we go. Still have quite a bit of this fabric left. That's cool. All right. And silly me put the iron away when I knew I was going to need it. Because you know I do that with all my stuff all the time. I put them away because I need to put them away. And then I go, oh wait, I need them. All right, so I line up my torn edge. It's not too far out of whack. It's a little bit. Okay. Yeah, just a little bit, not quite right. I think that fabric I tore and folded before I put it on the bolt. Anyway, well, what my version of a bolt is. Yeah, because it seems to be almost right. But I do have to say, the more fabric you have when you do the tearing and the folding, it can get off kilter. So you always still want to check it as you use it. Okay. So I'm going to need 2 rulers. I guess we'll use the big one. Okay. So trim this off. Make sure it's even on the fold. And trim off the torn edge. And then I need 11.5 inches. So I line up, 11.5, not 11.25. I line up my 11.5, and then I take my little ruler and square it with the fold. Okay. And then the next thing I need, yeah, let's do the second one first, and then I'll get to it. Eleven and a half. There we go. And then we need it to be 38.5 inches long. So from the fold, it needs to be 14.25 inches. Fourteen and a quarter from the fold. Match it up, make sure you're square. That's extra for later. And now this should be the right size to go across, and it is not. What did I do wrong? Oh, it's not the right length. Okay. 38.5. .5 divided by 2. 19.25. I lost 5 inches. $19.25, not $14.25. There we go. Now we just have to cut another 11.5-inch piece. Even though I know I can do math, I need to stop and use the calculator, because I missed that one. Let's see. Try this again. Oh, look how nice that is. There we go. from the fold 19 and a half, not 14 and a half. Square it up with the edges. There we go. $19 and a quarter, not 19 and a half. Yeah, I know I need to take a 1/4 inch off. I'm not going to mess with that. Just cut off a 1/4 inch. There we go. Now, let's tack again. And there we go. Now they are both the same size. Excellent. Okay. Gadget. Let's see here. That's not going to work. There we go. So this gadget is for hemming. And it's got all your sizes on it and all that good stuff. And then it's got this over on this side. And the only thing I use it for is right down here, this 1/4 inch. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and we're going to take these, and we're going to fold them over a 1/4 inch once using the ruler and press them. And then we are going to roll them over a second time, another 1/4 inch, and then we'll sew them on the machine so that that hem is right there. But keep in mind, if you have one of these rulers, they get hot. So be careful of that. And typically, sorry, losing hair. Typically, I use it at the beginning, like right here. And then as I go along, I will stop using it. Because I can pretty much keep the 1/4 inch going as I go along. And then, like I said, the second fold, I don't use the ruler at all. I just follow the guideline of my first fold. All right. Pull down. And just careful as you go. Fold it up. And then when you get to the end, just to make sure that I haven't messed anything up, I put it in at the end and check. And yeah, I'm usually pretty good about that. It's just getting started that I never do well. I'm not a good judge of a 1/4 inch, whether it's sewing or not. I don't know what my problem is with a 1/4 inch, but I've just never been good at it. All right, so now I'm going to fold it up a second time. And of course, if you are so inclined, you can either use your clips or some pins here to hold it down. Once I find that once I iron it, it doesn't stay perfectly. Don't get me wrong; it's not perfect, but it's reasonably well folded. And when I get it back over to the machine, I have found that I can sew it without any real problems. But make sure, I always forget at the end, I don't hold it long enough. Because, you know, at the beginning, you're just starting, you tend to hold it more. The iron sits there longer. When I get to the end, it's like, okay, I'm done. Let it sit for a little while so that it does get pressed down. And like I said, it's not perfect as far as staying down, but it stays down enough that once I get over to the machine, I will be able to sew it and it won't be a problem. Okay, second one. Ruler. That cord does not want to stay where I want it to stay today. Missed some of the string when I tore it. Okay. Check and make sure that I didn't change the hem. Nope, 1/4 of an inch. Excellent. That can go back there. And fold the second time. And the reason we're folding a second time is that way we don't have any raw edges. If we were to just sew it right now without the second fold, there's going to be a raw edge. And you don't want that because that's where fraying of the fabric happens. So we want to make sure you don't fray, the fabric doesn't fray, especially considering you'll be pulling a pillow in and out of this 2 times a year. Potentially more if you have to clean it for any reason. And I'm using all cotton fabric, all cotton batting, all cotton thread. So mine can go in the washing machine without a problem. There's a possibility of some shrinkage because it is all cotton, but at least it will be consistent shrinkage. Everything will shrink at the same rate. Conceivably, that's the idea. Okay. There we go. Let's go to the machine. Excellent. Now, if you're so inclined, you are welcome to remove your walking foot and change it to a regular needle. I'm not going to worry about it. I never do. I have had no problems whatsoever doing it this way. I am going to drop my stitch length down to a standard 2.5 just because I don't need the extra length for this. And there are people that sew with their walking foot on all the time. It makes your fabric feed more evenly. So leaving it on for this is not a problem at all. And again, if you've been watching me through these, you know that I've never changed the walking foot off at this stage of the game. Okay. Cut. Cut. And let's move this out of the way. And it's telling me my bobbin is empty. Is that true? It is true. Alrighty. Let's get rid of the little bit that was left. And now my bobbin has to be facing a certain direction on my machine in order to be wound. Okay. And look at that. Just that easy. Now, not all machines can be wound with thread in the needle. This machine has a setup so that it has the ability to do that. If your machine does not have the setup, don't do it. You'll loosen up the thread. You can fray your actual thread, and then it becomes weaker, and it won't work right. It could conceivably break as you're using it. So don't just assume that you can wind your bobbin from the needle if you want. Doesn't work that way. This side is being more challenging because I made the comment I didn't need clips. So of course it's going to be challenging. Excellent. And now for the part that I'm always afraid I'm going to mess up every single month. There we go. All right. So I want the top of the envelope to be going down. And I want the bottom to be inside. So that way, when you're looking at the back of the pillow, the top of the envelope is on the outside. And I'm always afraid I'm going to do this backwards. Always afraid, every month. I've had the same fear every month. So I'm sure at some point, one of these months, I will mess it up. And then you take your quilt and you put it on the top of the envelope. Or the other way around if you can do it, but I need to do it this way in order to make sure that I get the pieces in the right order. All right, and now we match up our corners. And I will need clips for this. Remember, clips, pins, whatever makes you happy, go for it. There we go. So we match up our corner. And these are not going to stay, they should stay fairly close, but you don't need to pin or anything every 2 seconds, because things will shift slightly as you're sewing them together. There are a lot of layers of fabric here, a lot of moving parts. All right, so now I'm going to do the bottom corner. And do one in the middle. And like I said, I'm always afraid of putting these on upside down, so that's why I did what I did, where I look at it, I put them where I think they're supposed to be, and go upside down with the quilt. All right, and corner. And corner. No, you can't see what I'm doing, sorry about that. So we've got the two corners, and now we make sure that we have one in the middle so that everything is matched up. Okay, let's finish. So we are going to sew all the way around this entire rectangle. And I don't know if I've done it before or not, but in my mind it makes sense to start just above one of the envelope parts. No, that doesn't go there. I need my little box back. So shift a little bit. Let's get that back over there. There we go. Okay. Down this short side. Make sure your pockets are lined up, otherwise you'll get bubbles later on. Whoops. Now this is only happening because I'm using the stitch in the ditch foot. If I had had my regular walking foot on, that wouldn't have been a problem. Now I always find this side to be a little challenging because on this side, when I was just able to move this around. To get this side and make sure it stays even, you got to get underneath the pocket. Gravity affects us here because this side here wants to pull down and doesn't want to feed correctly, so then that messes up the flow of the fabric. gets a little bit easier as we get to the tail end here, because this isn't pulling down as hard anymore. But still making sure that we keep everything even. Okay, and almost there. And just like I started with the knot at the beginning, I ended with a knot because this area is going to see a lot of activity. All right, so where are we at? There we are. Okay, so the last, well, second to the last step, because you technically should always put a label on. Since these are for my personal use, I'm not putting labels on them, which is wrong, because even though they're for my personal use, if I die someday, you know, somebody's going to find them and they're going to, yeah. If you would like, you can cut the corners. I have found, again, since this is not my first one, that it's a pillow. It gets puffy anyway, so a really sharp pointed corner is not nearly as important because the pillow is rounded. So once you get the pillow in, it kind of rounds it out anyway. But you want to get them out as sharp as you can. You just, like I said, I'm not trimming them down or anything like I normally would for anything else. And there we go. And last but not least, our fourth corner. There we go. All right. So now we have our pillow cover for October. And as you can see, there's the top. When I flip it around, the top of the envelope folds over the top. That way when it's sitting on your pillow, when your pillow's in there and it's sitting wherever you have it. Mine happens to be on a bench in front of our fish tank, so the cats use it more than anything else. That way the envelope folds down. Over the past few months, I have debated back and forth multiple times with myself about whether I should put a piece of Velcro or hook and loop or whatever the non-name brand is. And I have debated on putting Velcro in. If you decide to do that, you can add it later on. It's not something that has to be done at any specific time or in any specific order, because there's plenty of room in here to move around to get this under the sewing machine and add the hook and eye or hook and loop or whatever. But okay, so there we go, another one down. Something that I am very seriously considering, and I took the binder, my planner out of the room already because it was in my way earlier. I am considering, sorry, hold on, found a string that I missed, making a container to put these in. I found a pattern for a zip around container. Here, I'll show you what I mean by a container. And everything's going to fall over. There we go. All right. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. And I have way too many things in the way for you to be able to see what it is I'm talking about. Okay, there we go. It makes it a little bit easier. So it has a zipper that goes around the top, and these are my blocking squares for my knitting and my crocheting. And so I thought this container was a great idea. It's a piece of fabric that goes around. It has a handle on it. The only thing is I would need to make it wider and then a little bit taller. You can't see it there, but I do it that way. There we go. And a little bit taller. But I think I can figure out how to create the same thing and then determine the width or the depth and make it so that 11 of them can fit in this container. And every month I take out the one that I need and I put back the one that's from last month. So that's something I'm considering doing because I'm now at, like I said, July, August, September, October. This is my 4th one. So I'm going to be having 3 of them just sitting. They're actually in the footstool because it has a area to sit in, but just sitting there. And I'm thinking making something to store them might not be a bad idea. But I will have to come up with dimensions and things like that to figure out how to take that and turn it into a pattern that I can use. All right, so I told you we were going to be about 2 hours today just to finish it up. Turns out it was an hour and a half. Guess we now know that quilting and making the envelope takes about an hour and a half to get that all done. We just didn't have time during part 2 to get that taken care of. But we will be doing a fall project next because in my world, fall begins, I want to say like Tuesday or something like that. So I should have actually gotten the fall project done before I did the October project, but I didn't. I forgot all about the fact that fall comes. But I do have some fabrics that I want to use, and we're going to just do half square triangles. It's going to be a simple project, but I want to show you the different options you have, A, for making half square triangles, and then B, for arranging them, because you can arrange them in so many different ways. So we'll see y'all next time. Don't forget to thumb up and subscribe and like and follow and remind and all of that good stuff so that you can see when I'm going to be up next. I promise one of these days I am going to get a video edited so that we can have a shorter video instead of the hours-long videos. So hopefully we'll get that taken care of, but I'm having some difficulties with my editing equipment, so we'll have to see about that. So y'all have a great day.